All right, so we're gonna learn how to feed a sourdough starter. So what a sourdough starter, to make it active, is you take your discard, and this has been refrigerated. Basically, what is left over that you don't use with every recipe, you put into a discard jar. Now, obviously, mine needs cleaned out a little bit. But on the inside, you can see it is no longer fluffy dough. It almost looks like pancake batter. And so what you do is you measure how much starter, deactivated starter, that you're going to put in your vessel. And then you usually do about a 1-to-1-to-1 ratio. You can do different ones, but I'm going to keep it as basic as possible for you, because I feel like a 1-to-1 takes about 6 to 8 hours to grow or be fed, where it'll double in size. And it's just easier. Now, I will say that I usually add in a little bit of extra flour because I always want leftover for what my recipe calls for. So let's say my recipe calls for 1 cup of activated starter. If I have 1 cup of deactivated starter and 1 cup of flour to feed it, I'm going to end up with 2 cups. And so that's going to give me 1 cup left over to put back into my discard jar so that I can use that next time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see how much I actually have. And so you can use glassware, you can use measuring cups. You're just going to want to, something that is easy to clean. And I will say, I was thinking about emptying this out all the way and cleaning it. Every once in a while, you want to go to a completely clean vessel, just to prevent any stuff from growing. And actually, I think I'm probably gonna have just about a cup. So you can see it's about a cup. And I do have some leftover that I will probably clean this out, and I will feed whatever is in here again and clean out this vessel and get that all nice and sanitized. So I'm going to take 1 cup of deactivated starter. I'm going to put it in my bigger vessel. I love my Pampered Chef spatulas. They scrape so well. And always wash your hands before doing anything. Just helps keep everything sanitary. All right, so you have 1 cup deactivated starter. You've got 1 cup of water. If this water is warm but not hot, it will allow this to activate about an hour faster. If you use straight up out of the fridge water from Purified and it's cold, it adds about an hour. You can use distilled water that you buy in the gallon jar, but as long as it is not kitchen sink water. You don't want anything from the city. They pour chlorine and chemicals into your water. You shouldn't even drink it, let alone want to bake with it. So purified water, bottled water, out of the fridge, as long as you've got an active filter. You just want to get out all those chemicals, or distilled water is best. So now we have the water, 1 cup. We've got the deactivated starter, 1 cup, and then 1 cup of flour. Now you want to mix it to where it's almost like thicker than pancake mix, but not as thick as a dough ball. Now see, for me, I feel like this is too runny, okay? You can see, really runny. You want to kind of stir it up, get out some of the lumps. So this is where I add in extra flour. A little goes a long way. And it's just enough to get the consistency that I want. And what happens is the yeast that is in the deactivated starter, it will feed off of the natural yeast in the flour, and that's what causes it to bubble and rise. So you're just creating natural yeast so that you don't have to use fake yeast. When it comes to making sourdough. Now, oh my gosh, I keep hitting the thing. Sorry, guys. Now, that is obviously a lot better, kind of really thick pancake consistency. And that's probably where I'm going to leave it. Now, you want to try to get all of it into the bowl. You want as little as possible on your things, because washing it, you don't want all that going down your sink. So what you do next is you put a rubber band around the edge, and you will know that this is done when it at least doubles in size from the start of where it's at. Doubling in size isn't always a fail-proof way of measuring it. However, it's at least the best. You want to get it when it peaks, and what that means is as it continues to grow, once it stops growing and actually starts to dome a little bit and starts to fall back down, that's when you know you're at peak, because it's starting to deactivate. It's starting to fall back down. You want it when it's at the peak, which, depending on the temperature of your house and how thick you made that, how watered down it is, determines how many hours it takes. We did a 1:1 ratio. We did a little bit more flour. However, you usually can take about 6 hours in the summer for it to hit peak. In the winter time, when my house is like 65 to 68 degrees, it can take 8 to 12 hours, just depending on how cold it actually is. If you really wanted to control this, like if you wanted it to take 12 plus hours, you could technically put this in your refrigerator and allow it to grow all day and all night, and it will hit its peak, because the temperature does matter. So what I'm going to do is, if you have a lid for your vessel, put a lid on, or at least a damp cloth. Basically, you don't want any bugs getting in. If you ever fight with fruit gnats, flies, anything like that, if anything like that gets into your batter, it will completely ruin the whole thing. You want to make sure that no bugs can get in it. And so other than that, that's how you make active sourdough starter. And so when it's ready, I will use it, and I'll come back for another video on making my actual sourdough.